What if I told you one of the most secretive and restricted countries in the world is also a tourist destination? A place where every step is controlled, every interaction is monitored, and yet thousands of travelers still choose to visit every year. North Korea is unlike anywhere else on Earth, from its highly choreographed cities to its unique culture and strict rules. It offers an experience you simply cannot get anywhere else. But what exactly makes people want to go there? In this video, we're exploring what makes North Korea surprisingly attractive to tourists and why curiosity continues to draw visitors despite all the restrictions. A place almost nobody gets to see. The biggest draw is exclusivity. North Korea is one of the very few countries in the world where tourism is heavily restricted and tightly controlled. You cannot just book a flight and show up. You need to go through an approved tour operator, usually a handful of specialized travel agencies that have official permission to bring foreigners in. The tours are state-managed, your guide is assigned by the government, and your itinerary is fixed in advance. You will not be wandering off on your own or exploring anything unplanned. But that extreme restriction is actually part of the appeal. There is a group of travelers who have visited dozens of countries and are actively hunting for the places hardest to reach. North Korea sits at the very top of that list. Going somewhere almost no one else goes, seeing things almost no one else has seen, it is not just tourism, it becomes an achievement that very few people on Earth can claim. The architecture looks like nothing else. When tourists arrive in Pyongyang, the capital city, they are often genuinely stunned, not by misery or poverty, but by how visually unlike anywhere else it is. The city was almost entirely rebuilt after the Korean War, designed from the ground up with a very specific ideological vision. Wide, empty boulevards, giant marble monuments, pastel-colored apartment towers, enormous bronze statues, murals covering entire building walls. It looks like a city from an alternate timeline, something between a Soviet showpiece and a science fiction film set. The Ryugyong Hotel, a 105-story pyramid-shaped skyscraper under construction for decades, looms over the city like something out of a dystopian novel. The metro system is one of the deepest in the world, lined with chandeliers and Soviet-era mosaics on the walls. Even the public squares are on a scale that feels unreal when you are standing in them. For photographers and people fascinated by political symbolism built into urban design, Pyongyang is completely unlike anything they have ever walked through. History you can actually walk through. North Korea has a layered and deeply significant history, and tourists get to step right into it. The Korean War technically never officially ended, and it left behind landscapes and sites that carry enormous historical weight. One of the most visited spots for tourists is the Demilitarized Zone, the DMZ, where the two Koreas face each other across a heavily fortified border. Tourists can visit Panmunjom, the joint security area, where negotiations between the two sides have historically taken place. They can stand in buildings that sit right on the borderline and look directly across into South Korea. That experience, standing at the edge of one of the most tense geopolitical standoffs in modern history, is unlike anything most people will ever do in their lives. Beyond the DMZ, there are war museums, revolutionary monuments, and historical sites tied to the founding of the country that give you a completely ground-level view of how the regime tells its own story. Even if you strongly disagree with everything you are seeing, the historical depth of it is fascinating in a way that very few destinations on Earth can match. You are not reading about history, you are walking through a living version of it. Mass games and performances like no other. North Korea holds a large-scale event called the Mass Games, and it is, without any exaggeration, one of the most visually spectacular performances in human history. Tens of thousands of performers, school children, athletes, and military personnel come together in a choreographed display of synchronized movement, acrobatics, dance, and propaganda art that fills an entire stadium. The background mosaic effect, created by thousands of children each holding up colored flip cards in perfect unison to form giant images, operates at a scale of precision that is almost impossible to believe until you see it in person. Tourists who have visited during Mass Games season consistently describe it as one of the most jaw-dropping things they have ever witnessed, regardless of how they feel about the politics behind it. The sheer scale of human coordination on display is something you genuinely cannot see anywhere else on the planet. Even outside the Mass Games, North Korea regularly puts on performances, acrobatic shows, and elaborate cultural events for foreign visitors. The country has a deep tradition in the performing arts that, when separated from political context, is genuinely impressive and unlike anything tourists have encountered before. Nature and landscapes most people don't know about. Most people's mental image of North Korea is gray cities and marching soldiers, but the country actually has stunning natural landscapes that almost nobody talks about. Mount Paktu in the northern part of the country is a volcanic mountain with a breathtaking deep crater lake at its summit, called Heaven Lake. It is one of the most sacred and symbolically important places in all of Korean culture, revered deeply on both sides of the border. The lake, sitting at high altitude surrounded by dark volcanic rock and open sky, is genuinely beautiful. On a clear day, the views from the summit are extraordinary. There is also the Diamond Mountains region, known as Kumgangsan, which has historically been considered one of the most scenic and celebrated landscapes on the entire Korean peninsula. Dramatic waterfalls, granite peaks jutting through forest, ancient Buddhist temples tucked quietly into mountain valleys. It is a landscape that would look completely at home in any major travel magazine. The curiosity factor. Nothing else comes close. At the end of the day, one of the single biggest reasons tourists go to North Korea is pure, deep, unstoppable human curiosity. This is a country that has been in the global headlines for decades. Nuclear tests, international sanctions, defector stories, propaganda broadcasts, and bizarre political events that seem lifted straight from fiction. People have heard about it their whole lives. They have watched countless documentaries and read entire books about it. And then there is this nagging, persistent thought sitting in the back of their mind. What does it actually look, feel, sound, and smell like to be physically there? That curiosity is an incredibly powerful force. There is something fundamentally human about wanting to witness a place yourself rather than just reading about it. North Korea is the ultimate, I have to see this with my own eyes destination. Tourists who go often describe a kind of cognitive dissonance. The reality is somehow both stranger and more ordinary than expected at the same time. Streets that look almost normal, people going about daily life, and then suddenly a monument the size of a skyscraper reminding you exactly where you are. That mixture of the familiar and the completely alien is an experience you cannot replicate anywhere else. North Korea is not a typical travel destination, and that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. For some, it's about curiosity. For others, it's about experiencing a place that feels completely different from the rest of the world. Whether you see it as intriguing or controversial, one thing is certain, it's a country that leaves a lasting impression. If you found this interesting, drop a like, subscribe for more unique insights, and let me know, would you ever visit North Korea?